Welcome to this week's virtual assembly. I'm Katie.
And I'm Jo, and we're from Picture News. The first thing you need to do is grab yourself something to write with, a pen or a pencil, and something to write on. So a piece of paper or your school workbook will be absolutely fine. Now remember, every week we tell you this, but you can pause the video whenever you like to give you a few more minutes to think through your ideas, or if you need a bit more time to jot them down, that is absolutely fine. So give it a pause now if you need to run and grab your stuff, and then we'll get going. Off you go. So let's have a look at this week's news story by starting with our picture. So what can we see in this week's picture? What can you see, Katie?
I can see, is this maybe a bridge?
Ooh, yeah. And there's two screens on here, isn't there? Like the big sort of telly screen and a smaller screen in front as well. What else can you see, Katie?
What looks like maybe a games controller?
So a controller for a game. Jot down some of the things that you can see. Now let's think about what we like about this week's picture. What do you like, Katie?
I quite like the scenery in the background. It looks like they may be driving somewhere exciting.
And I absolutely love that car, and it looks like it's zooming quite fast. Jot down some of the things that you like about this week's story too. Now let's have a think about any questions that we have. So anything we'd like to ask about this week's picture. Have you got a question, Katie?
I would like to know, where are they going?
So where are they going? I'd like to know who is controlling that car. I wish it was me. Anything else? Any other questions that you might have about this week's picture? Have you got any more, Katie?
Yeah, I think, what game are they playing?
Ooh, so what game is it that they're playing? Jot down your questions now. Now, we'd like you to think about what you think this story might be about. So this week's Picture News story, what could it be about? Use the clues in the picture. We have a computer game and we know our current situation. So what could computer games and our current situation have in common, and make a prediction about this week's story? Can we find out what's happening this week, Katie?
Yeah, let's find out. The World Health Organization, WHO, have partnered with technology companies around the world campaigning to show how gaming can help fight coronavirus and save lives. The WHO and computer game producers have come together to work on the #PlayApartTogether campaign, which aims to spread the importance of WHO guidelines that will slow the spread of COVID-19, including staying inside, to the global audience of the gaming industry.
So Katie, can we see where in the world has been affected by this? Let's take a quick look. The whole world. So here we have our world, the globe of our world. So the whole world has been affected by this.
So the reason why this week's story affects all of the world is because the World Health Organization are for all of us, and their advice and guidelines are for everyone all around the world.
So let's think about how this week's story makes us feel. So I'd like you to jot down one word to describe how it makes you feel. So how does it make you feel this week, Katie?
I think it makes me feel quite excited.
Why does it make you feel excited?
I think it's really exciting that video games we've been told to play them.
So you're going to be getting into that this week. Excellent. I actually feel quite shocked because I think I've been told quite often, get off that video game, Jo, stop playing that, you need to run around and get some exercise, stop playing on those games. So I'm really shocked that we've been told that we should now be playing video games. So that's how I feel. So you jot down your word and then we're going to show you our emotion response grid where you can see if you can find an even better word for your word. Shall we have a look now, Katie?
Let's.
Do you reckon it's going to make us jump like it normally does?
Not this week.
Okay. I did it again! It got us again. So Katie, find your word excited and see if you can come up with an even better word for excited.
Okay, so I'm going to go for thrilled.
Oh, that's a good one. And I'm going to find my word shocked and I'm going to have a look and I'm going to feel astonished. Now find your word and find an even better word to describe how you feel.
So Jo, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So do you think more or less video games have been sold during the lockdown period of COVID-19?
Okay, so I'm going to guess at less.
Okay.
And the reason I think less is because people can't travel around to go to shops to buy their video games. And I also think perhaps people might be trying to save their money a bit. So I think less.
Okay, I think more. I think we're all inside a lot more. I think you don't always have to go out to buy the video games. So some of them you can download. So I think people are choosing to spend their time playing video games. So I think more will have been sold.
Can we find out?
Let's find out. The video game industry in the UK has seen a surge of users since COVID-19 has locked down the world. There was a 44% increase in video game sales. Now let's look at this week's question. Are video games the next best thing to our real lives?
So we'd like you to jot down what your thoughts are. And I'm going to ask Katie what she thinks. So Katie, what do you think? Are video games the next best thing to our real lives?
I think so. I think they're very realistic and they can take you away into another world and you can really feel like you're there experiencing something different when you're not able to leave your house.
I felt quite shocked about this week's story, and I actually think that even though video games are there and they can be quite helpful, I actually think real life is still part of being in our house and being in our home, and we don't necessarily need a video game to still be doing things. We could find other games to play instead. So jot down what you think. Now we'd like you to think about why we play video games. Can you jot down any reasons why we might play video games? Can you think any reasons why you might play video games, Katie?
I think for entertainment, for something to do, it's fun.
Definitely. I think it's also quite a good way to connect with your friends, possibly, when you can't see them face to face. Any other reasons?
I think the competitive nature of them, love a challenge.
Love a challenge. And you know, it's also a really, really good way to escape to another world.
Yeah.
I do have another way of escaping to a whole other world though, Katie. I use my imagination. And I have a poem that I've written that I'd love to read to you about me escaping using my imagination. Using my imagination is an awesome way to be transported to another world for the day. Be a superhero saving the planet, or a champion footballer in it to win it. Bust some quality moves on the dance floor. Find the key to the hidden door. Solve a puzzle, build a house, drive a car, be a mouse. My imagination is really quite wild. Never stop that inner child.
I love that poem. That was great.
Oh, thank you, Katie.
So let's have a think. So as well as using your imagination, are there any other games that we can play, do you think?
Instead of playing just video games?
Yeah.
Ooh, so I really, really love playing Snakes and Ladders.
Do you?
So I suppose board games could fit into that, couldn't they? So
Yeah.
Snakes and Ladders is definitely one of my favourites. What about you, Katie?
I've been playing a lot at home, in the house and outside. My favourite childhood game, Blocky.
Oh, I love Blocky.
Do you know Blocky?
Yeah, I do. I love Blocky. That's a good one to play.
Yeah.
The other thing I really like is setting up challenges, because we talked about challenges in video games, but I love challenges in terms of a sport. So you could see how many times you could throw the tennis ball up in the air without dropping it, and those types of challenges. The sports challenges and games are something I really enjoy. Can you think of any others, Katie?
Another one I quite like to play inside, just looking out the window, is I Spy.
Ooh, that's a good one. So can you jot down any other games that you can play at home?
Now it's time for our reflection. Make yourself comfortable and close your eyes. There are lots of different ways we can have fun inside. The World Health Organization have used computer games as one example to socialise with our friends virtually and to help keep our minds busy.
My favourite part of the week, the challenges. So challenge 1 is to do a video game review. So you need to think about what the name of the game is, how you play it, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and you could give it a star rating as well. Challenge 2 is to design your very own board game. So again, think about the name of the game, what you need to do. You need to design it in terms of the colours and the shapes and the pattern. You need to think how you're going to win it, and then you need to find all the resources that you need in your house to make that game and then play it with someone in your home. Which challenge are you going to do this week, Katie?
I'm going to do the first one. So I recently dusted off my old N64.
Ooh.
And I've got out my favourite game, Mario Kart. So I'm going to give that a good review.
Nice one. And I'm definitely going to make my very own board game. Keep an eye out because you might see it, a picture of it like my gymnastics from last week.
Now let's take a look at last week's poster and the discussion board and our favourite comment from last week's question. Do we think people will travel less in the future? Our chosen response this week is from Alice, age 9. I think in the short term there will be less travel because of the virus, as they will be scared of catching it. People will become used to using video technology to learn, work and speak to family. As a result, they will travel less for these purposes. We really like this comment because Alice has thought about what's happening now, so the reasons why things are changing at the moment, and then how that might impact all of our lives in the future. So thank you so much, Alice, for sharing that with us. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this week's virtual assembly. Just to finish, we're just going to leave our contact details. We absolutely love hearing from you and hearing about all of your challenges and your ideas. So we're going to share how you can share those with us. So the top one is our discussion board. So if you have a response to this week's big question that you'd like to share with everyone, go onto that website and type your response in, and yours might be the comment that we read next week.
You can also send any of your work that you do, the challenges or any of your ideas, to our email, or send it in the post and send it to our address. And like Katie says, we would absolutely love to hear from you. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you next week.
Bye!